Man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
The first trumpet versus the last trumpet. This is something that I was thinking about. It was on my heart, of course, with the Memorial of Trumpets being today for many people, last week for some people. And with all that's going on in Israel, so many people talking about a rapture that was supposed to have happened yesterday, it's important to go over these things. There's a lot of things in Scripture that have to take place before the last trumpet. And I know there's a huge massive amount of people who think the last trumpet has already sounded, and I'm not here to ridicule or talk bad about anyone that believes any timeline. I just want to share these things, and even if you believe that, I think you can gain some things from what you are about to see, because with that beloved first trumpet, there was a first one. We're waiting on the last one. What happened with the first one? Well, that's the importance of having a memorial of trumpets. You're remembering the things that happened with that first trumpet, and we're told to do so back in Leviticus 23:24, where it says here, where Father says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall you have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation." And so even the timing of where things are, our Father places things out for a reason. It's not random or reckless. He has given us a prophetic timeline and showing us clues along the way as to where we are in time, and everything makes sense. And so that very, very first trumpet, we're going to talk about it because this happens in Exodus 19. And all of you guys are familiar with this. And my memory of this, even though I read it, kind of gets blurred because I watched the 10 Commandments movie so many times that I see it as all just one trip. He came to the mountain, he gave the commandments, there was the golden calf, and that was it, right? There's more to the story. And I believe there is a parallel going on right now with that golden calf incident. And it's paralleled here, and we're going to talk about that. And if I'm wrong, please let me know. This is stuff that I feel like I'm just seeing today that I've missed. And I could be wrong with little key details. And so I don't want you guys to put your trust 100% in me ever, in the things that I say. We are studying this stuff out together. But going back to Exodus 19, you're going to hear what is involved with preparing for that first trumpet. It says here, "And the Lord said to Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud." You guys remember the last trumpet? The Messiah is going to be returning with the clouds of heaven. Okay, right here you have in the Most High saying that he's going to come to them in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee. So the people are going to hear when he speaks. Remember when the Messiah was here the first time? The voice came from heaven more than once. People heard that. They witnessed that. And so he is, the Most High is going to come down, it says, speak with thee, and the people are going to hear it. And it says, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes and be ready against the third day. This is prophetic. We've talked about this before. For the third day, the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. So you have the third day being significant. You have that thick cloud. This is in Exodus chapter 19. When you go forward to verses 16, and I'm sorry, when I put things in StreamYard, sometimes they get out of alignment, but this is Exodus 19:16. It says, and it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, So this is that first trumpet, exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. I can imagine the last trumpet is going to be very similar. It's going to be very loud. People are going to tremble. Lots of things are going to happen. And read about them in Revelation. And then, again, sorry, it cuts this stuff off when I put it in StreamYard. I'm not sure why it does that. We see that Moses came and told the people all the words of the Most High and all the judgments after he went up there. He goes up there. I just thought he went up there and then he came back and they had the golden calf. You know, that's kind of how the movie portrays it. But when you read the story, he goes up there and he comes back to the people like it's his first coming. Kind of mirrors what the Messiah did. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said, will do. Will we do? So they're saying, we've heard these judgments. We're going to do them. That's not where the story ends. He goes back up to the mountain. He receives more instructions. Okay. And it says, Moses wrote all the words of the Lord and rose up early in the morning and builded, it says, and builded, looks like I typed that, and builded or built an altar under the hill and the 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins. And half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar, and he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. I wish I could hear what he was reading. And they said, all that the Lord hath said, will we do. Here they are saying they're going to do it. And I know a lot of us, we feel that way sometimes, like, I'm going to do this, and then we don't. And these people, we're trying to learn from them. We're remembering what they are going to do wrong. And it says, and be obedient. So they're saying they're going to remember and be obedient, or they are going to do what they have been told. They're going to be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant. Probably reminds you of our Messiah when he was here before his crucifixion, talking about the blood of the covenant. So remember that. Things are about to happen. That was the blood of the covenant here they were talking about in Exodus 24. And you can see in Matthew 26, he says, this is the blood of my covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. It's going to get interesting because Moses in chapter 32, further on, the people are seeing that he is delaying to come back. He went back up. Okay, remember the Messiah after the blood of the covenant incident, where did he go? He had a resurrection. He went back up. What's happening right now? People are getting impatient. And I feel like we're in a golden calf scenario right now because Moses has given instructions. There's the blood of the covenant aspect. He's gone back up. And the people are getting tired of waiting. They're grumbling. And right now, they are setting up things, I believe, in the so-called place called Israel. That's what they call it right now. And it's not the biblical Israel, but they are calling it that. They are setting up things. People are talking about that. There's lots of people saying they're doing this. The third temple's going up and whatnot. And I feel like a golden calf scenario, it's not going to be necessarily a golden calf, but I feel like that is it. People are waiting for the return. We just had a lot of people I saw on the internet. They were selling things that they owned because they thought the return was going to be yesterday. They were calling it the rapture. They weren't understanding the events of all the different trumpets of Revelation and, you know, being deceived into thinking that some man who had a vision or a dream, I don't know the whole story, knew the day and the hour. And so they sold everything they had. They were giving away their retirement, selling their houses and doing those things. And the people here, it's no different. They're waiting. And it says, when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, up, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, We wot not what is become of him, or we don't even know what's become of him. He may not be coming back. And so the people were getting impatient. And I feel like now there's a time, the people, think about the people that are waiting, still don't believe that Yeshua was the Messiah, waiting, getting impatient. You might force things along. And so I think it's important that we see there is a parallel here. Moses gave them instructions. They're waiting on his second coming for him to come back down the mountain. They're getting impatient and they make an idol. And the story gets really sad from there. I don't even like reading about that because it just breaks my heart that the people, they did that. And then you have to witness our Father's mercy, where there's a time where he's saying basically to Moses, I'm just going to send my angel before you. These people are stiff-necked people. And Moses, having a heart that I think we should all have, is basically like, you know what? If you don't go, I don't want to go. And we need to be like that right now. If he's not going, if there's a journey this world is taking, if he's not there, we don't want to be there. The angel and the promised land and all that stuff wasn't enough for Moses. So we need to be like Moses. And our Father tells us, and tells Moses that, hey, I'm going to send them one like you. Anyone who doesn't hear his words is going to be held accountable for not listening. He was, of course, referring to the Messiah, someone who did come, and many, many people are not listening to his words. And so I think this is an extremely important parallel to talk about the golden calf incident as we wait for that last trumpet. We read about it in the New Testament. We get excited when we think about it, but we have to remember those people who heard the first trumpet, waiting on Moses to come back, just like we are waiting on the Messiah to come back. They got impatient. They made mistakes. There's going to be one claiming to be God, probably doing miracles, probably demanding sacrifice, saying that he is God, according to 2 Thessalonians. So it will be a golden calf scenario, I believe, with a real person that is given the ability to do these things. You have to listen to what the beloved Son said. You have to listen to those warnings and know where we are in our prophetic timeline. And Matthew 24 says, then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. With a great sound. Remember, the trumpet sounded for a long time with Moses. While it's sounding, I think if I hear that loud noise, I'm going to be quiet. But Moses spoke during the trumpet blast. He spoke to our Father. And so that sound of a trumpet, I am just hoping when that trumpet sounds, we are ready. We are able to speak like Moses. And it says, and they shall gather together. Who's gathering together? There's a gathering. There's a harvest. He's sending his angels, lots of angels, with a great sound of a trumpet. This is what's cool. It's hard to picture this. I always just picture us shooting up into the sky. The graves, the Sheol opening up, people coming up to the sky, the elect, the people that are a part of the first resurrection. But it says, his angels with a great sound. He's sending them to gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Makes sense on the biblical earth. We see again in 1 Thessalonians, this is where you can start seeing the connections here of that trumpet. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven, speaking of that same event, with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds. Remember when he came to Mount Sinai, when the Most High came to Mount Sinai, there was a thick cloud. That's what Moses walked into, going into that thick cloud to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. And so this stuff is important and prophetic. When you start looking at when these events happened, it gets even better. I'm going to full screen this so you guys can see that right there. You have the first, I've laid these things in millennial days. I've laid out our timeline that way for clarity for me. It makes it easier for me to see it. And hopefully it'll make it easier for you guys to see it. We've done an entire presentation on this that I will link in the description. But when you look at, things like Adam dying, There's a lot of people, including myself, when I found out he ate of the fruit and he didn't die that day, that something was off, until I read the book of Jubilees, and it says that time was measured in the testimony of heavens differently, that you had 1,000 days, or 1,000 years being as a day, just like Peter says, that aspect on the heavenly tablets. And so he did not complete that day. He died before the 1,000-year mark. And our Father, with that first trumpet, came on the third day, Millennial Day. But not only that, he came on the morning of the third literal day, on the morning, the very beginning of it. And so that makes perfect sense when you look at Hosea's prophecy that comes along when he says we're going to be raised up on the third day. When you don't know about the millennial days, and this was when he spoke that, it was on the fourth millennial day, before they changed to the current calendars. They didn't have 1000 BC when Hosea was prophesying. They were measuring time from creation until then. So time was measured differently than it is now. So when Hosea spoke that prophecy in the fourth millennial day, the Messiah shows up at the turning of the fourth to the fifth millennial day. And our calendar now has it to where it starts over. You're now in the first millennium, second millennium. And I remember when it became, because I'm old enough to remember Y2K, when it became the new millennium, the so-called new millennium. I don't believe we're there yet, I think it's based on when our Messiah resurrected. And so that seventh millennial day is very, very closely approaching. Genesis chapter 2 tells us that the creation days were the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were made. It's a 6-day period with a 7th day of rest, right there in chapter 2. That's amazing. Speaking of the clouds and the thunder, I am hearing some amazing rumbling thunder. My house just shook as I was saying that. Really powerful. And so we can see the prophetic timeline here. I'll skip forward to Peter. He says, "Beloved, I now write unto you in both which I stir up your pure minds by the way of remembrance." It's about remembering, "that ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandment of us, the apostles of the Lord and Savior, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming?" We have that now. And now that people have just sold everything they own, there's going to be people laughing at them saying, hey, where's the promise of his coming now? Better get that golden calf ready. And then in 2 Peter, he says, "Beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." That is why Hosea, I believe, was saying, the second day he's going to revive us, and on the third day he is going to raise us up. And it's in chapter 6 of Hosea. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, he says after 2 days, or not revive us, heal us. After 2 days, he will heal us. So I'm glad I have it here. In the third day, we shall arise. Sounds like a resurrection. And live before him, and shall know him. Let us follow on to know the Lord. We shall find him ready as the morning. Remember that first trumpet was in the morning on the third day. And he will come to us as the early and latter rain to the earth. Hallelujah. And so we have that 1,000-year aspect. It's like a day. Hundreds of years before the Messiah came, when prophets were saying the kingdom was at hand, it's at hand. It was at hand. It's always at hand. It's only a couple days away. And in your short life, or our short lives, the way we live now, with our length of life, it's always right there. We're always at least 80 to 100 years away from the resurrection. "Behold," he says, this is in Luke, "behold, I cast out devils, and I do cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I shall be perfected." Sounds a lot like Hosea. Oops, skip forward here. Just to give you a flashback to Genesis, what I was talking about. That serpent was using their misunderstanding of that concept, saying unto the woman, "You shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day you eat thereof," basically, your eyes are going to be opened. You're going to see all these things. That's what the world wants you to think about, their little secret societies and things. They've got all this knowledge, this hidden stuff, all these deceptions, knowing both good and evil. And so she did eat. And I'm assuming Adam, that serpent's probably like, hey, she didn't die this day. Go right ahead, buddy. And he didn't die that day, unless you understand what Jubilee says. For 1,000 years, just like Peter said, are as one day in the testimony of the heavens. And therefore was it written concerning the tree of knowledge, on the day that you eat thereof, you shall die. So that's the clarity. That helped me understand that prophetic timeline quite a bit. So I hope that makes sense. So much more involved with that. Adam dying that day. Seeing where we are in time, most likely. I know there's different manuscripts with different timelines. Calendars do get confusing. Things have been altered, but they know where we're at. Here we go. So you can see a timeline here. Yeshua arrived. From that point forward, I wish I could write on my screen here like I do when I'm in class. Maybe it'll let me. No, it won't. You can see that fifth day being the new first millennial day, because it goes from 0 to 1,000 on our current calendars, is why I'm saying we're approaching the third day, just like they were when they had the first trumpet. So our new first day being that first millennial day, second new day, and the seventh day is still the seventh day. It's not changing. I'm not saying that the Sabbath is now the third day, or that the seventh millennial day is now the third millennial day. According to our calendars, it is the current man-made calendar. There we go. Depths of the earth. And the talks of the resurrection, I used to think it was just a New Testament thing. You go back to the book of Psalm, when David is prophesying so many beautiful prophecies here. He says, which thou hast showed me great and sore troubles, shall quicken me again, and shall bring me up again from the depths of the earth. Sounds like a resurrection. Isaiah in 26 says, the dead shall rise, and they that are in the tombs shall be raised, and they that are in the earth shall rejoice, for the dew from thee is healing to them, but the land of the ungodly shall perish. There'll be a lot that perish. And then Daniel chapter 12, Daniel's another one that ties in with Revelation. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to reproach and everlasting shame. And the wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament. Something that was still there in Daniel's time, didn't go away with the flood. And of the many righteous as the stars, forever and evermore. Some beautiful things. So we are waiting on the last trumpet, and we talked about that first trumpet being on that third millennial day. I know some of the things are repetitive here. Oops, there you go. Give you just a snapshot of that. So I believe, as we remember the first trumpet, we saw, if you're joining us late, that Moses received some words. He brought them back to the people, and when he went away, went back up to that mountain, they got tired of waiting, and they made the golden calf. And we are waiting for the return of our Messiah, similar situation. And people are setting up a new false Messiah, golden calf scenario, someone who's going to be claiming to be God, someone that these people and most world religions will approve of, I believe, according to 2 Thessalonians. Again, I'm just sharing the way I see these things. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. You guys feel free to pray about this, or please pray about this, because we are in significant times for sure. We're about to see things really heat up. It feels like, I think all of you can feel this. I'm not probably the only one who feels this way, is that right now, it's almost like that temper tantrum of these unclean spirits who realize their time is running out. They knew that when the Messiah was here. They were talking about that. They knew who he was. He knew who they were. He wasn't like, what are these unclean spirits? I didn't read about these in any of in the modern day canon. He had access to books like Enoch, I'm assuming, to where it talked about where these unclean spirits came from. Okay, that book tells us it's for people in the last days. We're here in the last days getting access to that book. We know where these unclean spirits come from. We know how it is that they knew who he was. They knew he was the Son of God. They knew they had a coming judgment. And so it's something extremely important to see. And so, well, let me see what you guys are saying in the comments. It is amazing. It is thundering. It sounds amazing. Bouncing off the firmament, making the house shake. We got Legacy Adventures in the house. Young Bible scholars in action. Need to check out a good channel. There's one. Good to see you, Marcia. All you people out there, all of our moderators, thank you guys for doing the things you do. I don't even worry about the unclean spirits at work over there. I know you guys are truth soldiers taking care of stuff for us. Appreciate that. All right. And so right here, Matthew 17, I was reading about this today, and I'll ask you guys about this. I think this is interesting. This is when Jesus took with him Peter and James and John, selectively, those three people, Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain. Now, I have heard that the name James was originally Jacob, and I think it was changed to James in honor of King James. You can look into that. I think that's interesting if it was Jacob, considering the significance of the seed of Jacob. But it says, led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone. And remember, this is after 6 days. 6 millennial days. We're going to have that 7th day. There's going to be like kind of like a transfiguration. We're going to be transfigured. We're definitely going to be changed in a moment. But it says, there he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun. And in Revelation, when you read about the last trumpet, the one that's holding that trumpet, their face is shining like the sun. And his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah. Remember, Moses, parallel with the Messiah. And you have Moses and Elijah talking with our Messiah. How cool is that? And I've wondered about that because we're not supposed to talk to the dead. And this is where things can get confusing. You can say, well, that was necromancy. He sinned. That's wrong. Well, Michael, I believe it was Michael the archangel contending with the devil over Moses' body. Because we're not told that Moses never was preserved. You know, it says he died, but, you know, maybe he was preserved. Tree of life, brought back like Lazarus. I don't know. Maybe it was just a vision. Lots of ways to interpret the transfiguration. It may not have literally been him. You know, it's just a vision. Of course, he didn't stay around. But it says, appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, 3 little tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking. And it says, or while he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, this is my son. And so with Moses, the people heard the voice the first time when he came down. And then they were like, hey, we don't want to hear his voice. You go listen, because we'll die if we hear it. It's just so powerful. And they were so fearful. And so that's why Moses went away. And so, whom I love, this is my beloved son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. And so remember, when he told Moses, I'm going to send one like you. People need to hear him. And he is saying just that. Here's my son. Listen to him. And that's when they fell down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them, and get up, he said, don't be afraid. When they looked up, they saw no one except the Messiah. That would have been intense. Could you imagine that scenario? You hear that voice saying, this is my beloved son. You fall down to the ground, and then you get touched on the shoulder, and you look up, and you're just there with him. Like, that is something that would be extremely powerful and amazing to experience. And so definitely some amazing stuff to look forward to with that Feast of Trumpets being in the 7th month, like we said earlier, at the start of it, for a reason, when you're remembering things like that. Let's see what we have here. This is Isaiah. When he lifted up an ensign on the mountains, and when he bloweth a trumpet, hear ye, for so the Lord said unto me, I will take my rest. Think about that, a 7th day rest. And I will consider in my dwelling place like a clear heat upon herbs, and like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. Sounds like a last trumpet type of scenario to me. Then you have that millennial reign period where they reign 1,000 years with the Messiah. And I know a lot of people believe that has already happened. The camp of the saints is somewhere up north maybe, or invisible. Lots of different renderings of that belief. But the rest of the dead will not live again until those 1,000 years are over. That is going to be the final judgment. When those 1,000 years are over, you know, of course, Gog and Magog, that is going to be the time of great destruction. But during that 1,000-year rest period, there's going to be the enemy bound, who's not going to be loosed, except for this little short season. So all of that in our prophetic timeline. Again, if you think it's already came, we're at the end of it. Still, I think this stuff is powerful and can benefit you in many ways. Let me see if I can find some of the things I was wanting to share. Is after that third day encounter, that new third day, or that seventh day, is what would be considered the eighth day, which is also important in prophecy and in scripture. That's that new heaven and the new earth aspect. So there will be a restoration. Death will be defeated. No more death. Imagine that. Going to be amazing. And so let me remove this from the stage here. With this being a memorial of trumpets, I think it's important that we reflect on those things, remembering what our Father has been through, that golden calf scenario, not to partake in it. People are going to be saying, hey, when is this going to happen? You guys were saying 2025 September. You guys were saying 2030, whatever you're saying. Remember, time is measured differently. Our calendars have been altered. People are trying to figure this stuff out. Some of the greatest minds in the world trying to figure out where we are in time. And the key is, don't do the same things that the people did after that first trumpet while you're waiting on the last one, because they were impatient with Moses on his second return when he was going to come back. They got tired. They said, you know, we don't know what's happened to this guy, Aaron. Go ahead and make us a calf, you know. And Aaron, I did not know why he was obedient in that moment, because he had a special calling in his life and did some things and got to witness things that were amazing. He did have some heartache, though, down the road. His son's kind of following in his example and making a strange sacrifice. When you look up the word strange in that, or a strange fire, and when you look up that word strange, it kind of has to do with adultery. So I think it would mean something related to a false deity. And so definitely a lot of things going on there that are prophetic with the times to come. And Tyler Porter says, Scripture clearly tells us that the promised land where the camp of the saints, the New Jerusalem, will come down to. It's between the Nile and the Euphrates. That is exactly right. There are prophetic locations. It's not like the kingdom's going to go somewhere outside of prophecy. Prophecy will come true, and it's always going to come true. That's why Peter said, be mindful of the prophets. And I think what a lot of people are forgetting about is those prophets. We're looking at just the New Testament, which I was guilty of doing for decades. Make sure you're looking at the prophets, finding out what they say, because our Father gave us them for a reason. When they were saying study to show yourself approved, they didn't have the New Testament yet. They needed to study those things out so that they weren't teaching things that went against prophecy. So make sure you have prophecy in mind. I'm glad you pointed that out. It is definitely one of those precursors we got to be looking for, is a specific area. If a false kingdom were to come somewhere outside of the area listed, it's not the right one. Locations were given, precursors were given for a reason. Yeah, you're right about that too, Whitestone. It's after the strange fire. One of the first instructions given were about not drinking, if I'm remembering correctly, strong drinks and going into the temple. So maybe they had made that mistake. Otherwise, why bring that up? You know, why say, hey, let's bring up strong drinks and alcohol right after something very dramatic happened with his children? So I think that is an important lesson to learn there about going into that temple. Be sober. You're going into the presence of the Most High. And I don't think they were. I think they, kind of like their father with the golden calf, made a big mistake. All right. Lots of interesting things. I just thought I had to share when I was looking at the first and the last trumpets and other things as well. I mean, it didn't just stop there. There were other things that I feel are prophetic into that resurrection, third millennial day aspect. And one of those was when they were going into the promised land. They were about to have a 7 days of blowing the trumpet experience as well. However, when you look at the measurements, why would they give specific measurements? They weren't just like, hey, put the Ark of the Covenant just out there somewhere a good distance. You know, we were told in Joshua chapter 3, verse 4, yet there shall be a space between you and it about 2,000 cubits before those waters part. 2,000 cubits, Ark of the Covenant. Type of wood it was made out of grew thorns. I'm wondering if that's the same type of wood they used, or tree they used to make the Messiah's crown of thorns. But you had a couple thousand cubits between them, the Ark of the Covenant, probably that millennial reign period, and then the promised land experience. Could be something like that. New heaven and new earth, foreshadowing. And, you know, that was when the Father was showing the people, I'm with Joshua as well, just like I was with Moses. Powerful stuff there. And it was on that 7th day, which we are quickly approaching that 7th millennial day, that they got up early, about the dawning of the day, the beginning of that 7th day. Just like it was the morning of the 3rd day when that first trumpet sounded, it's the morning of the 7th day when they are sounding their trumpets. And so 7 times on that day, they compass the city. 7 is a significant number. It's almost like he's trying to point a clear picture out or paint a clear picture here. How many times do I have to show them? 7, 7, 7. You know, creation right here. 7 trumpets in Revelation. Like, it is significant, that number and those trumpets and the priest and the shouting. And so today being that, well, I guess it was for some people. Some people it was last week. I understand. I'm not saying I'm on the correct calendar. I think we're all doing the best we can in this dispersion. Reminds me of that. And so there's 7 trumpets of Revelation as well. I wanted to talk about that too. We talked about the first trumpet, the last trumpet. Well, there's other trumpets. There's not just one and then the end. There's other trumpets mentioned in Revelation. And I saw a post. I'll try to share it. West Blaze put it up. Excuse me, about knowing where we are with all the claims and things being made about the last days right now and the so-called rapture. But there are 7 trumpets in a Revelation. With the first one, I'll read the highlighted parts here. It says, the first angel sounded, and there followed hell and fire mingled with blood. So remember the plagues of Egypt. That's all, like 2 of them wound up in one. Because remember, there was the hell mingled with fire. You had the water turning to blood. Well, with this, you know, prophetic parallel here, you have water or fire mingled with hell, or hell mingled with fire, and blood. And it's being cast upon the earth. And the third part of the trees were burned up. That's a large portion of trees. And all the green grass was burned up. And you remember in Egypt, there was a time where everything was lost from these plagues. Whatever was left, like the locust would come and get it. You know, like it was a big deal. They were losing a lot of things. And it says, with the second trumpet, the second angel sounding his trumpet, says, as it were a great mountain burning with fire cast into the sea. And the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. So that's a lot of death in the sea. You could imagine the smell of billions of species, creatures dying. And the third part of the ships were destroyed. And for some reason, the verses are cut off. I know StreamYard does that with these presentations. I wish they would fix that. They're coming up with some good updates, but that needs to be one of them. Then we have trumpet number 3, trumpet number 4. The third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called wormwood. What's fascinating about that, when I looked up wormwood a while back, we did a video on this, that the scientific name for that plant is named after Artemis. Remember the Artemis missions splashing down in the waters? I'm not saying they are the fulfillment of that prophecy, but they're always mocking Revelation and our Father and trying to have systems that mimic his. So I thought that was worth sharing there. But this is the wormwood, that star called wormwood. Not going to make sense on the heliocentric model. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. If you've ever had, like, they have like these parasite cleanses you can have that use that specific plant, and it is extremely, extremely bitter. I am telling you from experience. I'm glad I can now relate to how bitter that would be. And then trumpet number 4. We're getting close, guys. Getting past the halfway point here. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it. So that's going to mean that a day, it's going to be dark for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven. Imagine hearing, whoosh, the angel flying through the midst of heaven. Like, this isn't some small little creature flying through heaven. It says, saying with a loud voice, woe, 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 the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpets of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. There's still 3 more to go. We've had 4, 3 more. Just check out what happens. This is the 5th one, has it's like an entire page here. This is a lot going on with the 5th trumpet. So the 5th angel sounded, and it says, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. So we already had a star falling called wormwood. Now there's a star falling from heaven unto the earth. And in the book of Enoch, the stars falling in his vision were usually correlated with the fallen, those watchers, those bound angels, or that would eventually become bound. Saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Does kind of sound like Enoch there, his descriptions. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened. So now you're having a darkening again, a parallel, another one, by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locust upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions. And I cannot stand scorpions, by the way. If you've ever seen a scorpion or lived close to them and seen them in nature, these things are, they're creepy. I mean, they're like crabs and wasps and spiders, like all rolled into one creature. Like, these things, we had one in our house, and I haven't seen one in years. And I remember thinking, I haven't seen these things in years. And then I'm outside on our new property. I move a rock around, and there's a scorpion under it. And I'm like, wow, I thought these things like went extinct. I haven't seen one since I was a child. And then we had one in our garage, and then we had one in our living room. And I wanted to take a picture of it, which is foolish. If you ever see one, just kill the thing. And I tried to take a picture. I did not realize they can fit in some tiny spaces. It went underneath our trim, and I couldn't get it. So now I walk around at night thinking, oh my goodness, I hope it's not under my feet. Probably one of the scorpions from Revelation. No, I'm just kidding. But it says the scorpions of the earth have power, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So a lot of people talking about pre-tribulation and all these, the pre-trib rapture and all that. The people that are not sealed, those are the ones being harmed. You want to be having the seal of God in your forehead. Find out what that means. Read the Bible. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. That's a long time to be tormented. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh the man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locust were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads were, as it were, crowns like gold. I know this is hard to see. Let me full screen this for you guys so I can see it better too. Okay, it says, and on their heads were, as it were, crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had the hair as the hair of a woman. This is this is just weird, the descriptions here when you're trying to picture this stuff. And their teeth were as the teeth of lions, and they had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. That is some loud, creepy visuals there. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails. Remember, they're not hurting the elect. And their power was to hurt men 5 months, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Reminds me of the Apollo missions. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. So that's number 5. We got 2 more trumpets, guys. Lots of trumpets here. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound. And these things have been bound for a while, guys. Bound since we read about the descriptions in Enoch, bound since the pre-flood times. And they were bound, it says here, in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year. This is specific, a specific month, day, and year, and even hour, for to slay a third part of men. And I did the math. I tried seeing what's a third part of like 8 billion, and it ended up being like 2,000,000,66666. It was just a bunch of sixes after that. I was like, that's interesting. Lots of sixes popping up when you do the math. If it's really 8 billion, I don't know what our population really is. I don't think anybody really does except for our Father. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. That's a lot of thousands, 200,000. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these 3 was the third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke, by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth. Their power is in their mouth. Think about that. And in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents now. So not scorpions. Now they have tails like serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not. You remember the Egyptians, some of them weren't repentive. Even these plagues going on. Repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk, neither repented they of their murders. So these aren't just people worshiping. They're making sacrifices to these idols. They're doing that to this very day. Nor of their sorceries, their pharmakia. They're doing that to this day as well. Nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. That's number 6. Oh my goodness, number 7. Here we go. This is the big one. And I can't see the words behind. Let me see if I can pull it up on my other presentation here. Where is it at? One second, so I could read it better. There we go. So it says here, and I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot upon the earth. Remember, the earth is dry land. If it was a planet, putting your foot on any part of it would be earth, right? But it says his left foot was on the earth, and his right foot was on the sea, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered. Seal up those things, right? You are sealing up those things. He was about to write. He says, seal them up. the seven thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth, and the things that therein are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer, but in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants, the prophets. And so this stuff is powerful. And so you see with that seven trumpet, so many different things. Let me get back here so I can pull up. This is what I found. It's funny. I was talking about all this stuff and looking into it. And then I went on Facebook to share the link, and I saw Wes Blaze had already made a little seven trumpet of Revelation flyer there. It was really cool that he had put that together with verses so that you could just go through and see them. And it talks about things with that seventh trumpet in Revelation chapter 11. It says here, Christ returns to war with the beast and overcome them. I'm reading from his flyer. That's Revelation 17:14. The beast and those who worship them are thrown into the lake of fire. Revelation 19 through 20. I love that he puts the verses there, so you can go and fact check what he is saying here. And then it says the first resurrection of the dead. I know it's hard to see on my screen, which is 1 Corinthians 15:52. So I can read this. It's kind of losing track here. 1 Thessalonians 4:16, Revelation 26. So you listen to all the scenarios that talk about the resurrection of the dead. And then the New Jerusalem descends from heaven, Revelation 14:1 and Revelation 21. The kingdoms of the world become the kingdoms of God. Not going to be any more worldly kings at that time when that resurrection has happened, when the millennial reign, and I call it the millennial reign sometimes. It's going to go on forever according to prophecy. It's not going to end after the 1,000 years. It's just that the enemy is unbound after the 1,000 years. The reign is still ongoing, never passes away. And there is a video shared by, or actually that might be the post right there. He might have actually found the post. Seven Trumpets timeline right there in the comments. You can click that and see what I'm trying to share. It's less fuzzy. I think on my screen it's probably a fuzzy image. But important that we understand these things must be fulfilled before the resurrection happens. And it's going to happen. We are preparing for that. There will be some enduring until the end aspect. We need to endure to the end. And remember, learning from the mistakes of those who have come before us, the ones who, when Moses went back up there and received more instructions after atoning for their sins, they said, you know what, when is he going to come back? What's happening here? Let's just make ourselves a golden calf. And so we need to be ready for that final trumpet, that last trumpet. And I'm going to give you some words here of advice, some things that I wish somebody would have told me, back in the day. But we need to be ready to follow the Messiah's words. And these words seem really harsh. When you know what these words mean, it's hard to listen to, especially when you're not ready to turn away. I know there's a lot of people probably listening in now that have things they're holding on to that are holding them back from their true purpose, from being closer to the Most High. And I could remember having those things in my life. It's kind of like, you picture those old prison movies from back in the day. When they were in prison, they would have this heavy metal, almost like cannonball, to a chain tied to their leg. And they couldn't go very far, very fast. If they did, it was very hard to move. And it reminds me of how it is when you hold on to the world. And when I was reading what our Messiah said here in Luke chapter 9, he says, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. And I feel like that is just one of the most powerful statements and convicting statements, because I'm like, man, I feel like my hands are on the plow, but I also realize I'm looking back. And it's even to this day, I struggle with this. When I'm doing the Father's work, talking to his children, it's easy to go, man, when I was just doing my other job and making more money and this and that, maybe I should go back to that. And we start looking back, and it's damaging. We need to be fit for the kingdom, because our Messiah says, if you're looking back, you're not fit for the kingdom. And those people that have been brought out of slavery, out of bondage, walking through the waters that were parted, all the things that they saw, they were still looking back. And we have to be humble and know that if they could see all that and still look back, we, experiencing what we have experienced, can still look back. And it's hard not to sometimes. This walk is not going to be the easiest. And it's something that we need to constantly pray about, that we learn from the mistakes of the ones who made the golden calf, the ones who sinned against our Father. And I used to think they were just foolish people. I could never be like them. But there's coming a time really soon where we're going to be put to the test big time. We have to have a strong foundation. We have to keep both hands on the plow, but that's not enough. You cannot look back. When you look back, you're not plowing a straight path. Okay, and plowing the path is for the planting of seeds, and those seeds need to be planted in straight rows in order to prosper. And so that way they will be ready for that harvest, and it's going to be easier to harvest them. They're just scattered all around. The harvest is not going to be easy. And remember, there's angels coming for that harvest, gathering people up. Someone said, I am of the opinion, oops, wrong one. I am of the opinion the Euphrates River dried up before Jeremiah 50:30. Yeah, they say it's drying up to this day. Kind of reminds me of those trumpets. And when you're reading about those trumpets, it's important to know that it may not all be literal. You may not be seeing actual people with scorpion tails, coming out of the pit. But oh my goodness, if that is literal, how terrifying. But yeah, just remember, make sure you are ready, following in the steps of our Messiah, the beloved Son. What steps did he take? Well, he took a lot of them. He prayed often, cast out demons, kept appointed times, preached the gospel of the kingdom, shared love and light in ways that a lot of us need to work on that, especially with other believers that do not agree with us. And we all have different opinions and different things, but definitely got to be ones that that make the dragon angry. They were making him angry here in Revelation. Who was the dragon angry with? Those that keep the commandments and have the testimony of our Messiah. Got to be ready for that. There we go. And so lots to share. I wanted to share those things. I know we've talked about a lot. We've been all over the place, but remembering the trumpets, that's what this is about. The memorial of trumpets. I hear the word Feast of Trumpets and I'm like, oh, I get to eat. But remembering trumpets, and especially the first one, can't remember the last one. It hasn't happened yet, but we can read about it and we can prepare for it. So it's a blessing to have you guys joining us, talking about those trumpets. So many are going to happen. We've already had some good examples of what people did wrong with that first one. Gives us a good prophetic timeline to look at for this next one as we await the second coming of our Messiah, just like they were waiting for Moses to come back. And our Father did say, I will send them one like you. And he did. Evidence support the claim that 1,000-year reign is already come. Worth watching. All right, I'm reading some of your comments. You guys have any questions? Oh, thanks, John and Cindy. Good to see you. Hopefully you're still here. Sometimes I comment and you've already gone. You guys are awesome. And I hear somebody. Maybe, just maybe, you might have a special guest appearance. We might have a special guest appearance. Oh my goodness. You guys, you want to see a gift? This is what Father made. And my warrior of a wife here has been taken care of. I'll see if I can hold her up for you guys to see. Her name is Eliora. She's a little light. You want to say hi? Oh, you are a little light, aren't you? She's got blue eyes like her mom. I know it's hard to see. Yeah, you are a little light. Yeah. You guys are getting blessed with her intelligent design here. Oh, look at those cheeks. Mom has been doing a good job feeding her around the clock. Every little move she makes. She's not sure. Yeah. Say, you want to talk? Say hi. She talks. You say hi. Say hi there. Say hi. Hope she doesn't blow up on me. She celebrated her her Memorial of Trumpets with us last night. Said I have my own trumpet. A little messy. Say hi. Hi. She can smile. So big. Yeah. You smile? You gonna smile? Show them your smile. Mm-hmm. She just wants to see you guys. She said, I came here to see everybody. Yeah. Yep. I love you. She smiles often. I mean, she smiles all the time. They're not going to believe me if you don't smile. Smile. Smile on cue, please.
She'll smile and coo, but
yeah,
it has to be face to face.
Yeah, she likes when she sees your face. She can smile. I think she's interested in everybody over here. Aren't you? Aren't you? Yeah. How old are you now?
2 months.
2 months? This is your first ever Memorial of Trumpets. She's precious. She is getting bigger. I can feel it. Got my wife over here. Women are warriors when they have babies, the things they do. It's amazing. You want to go back to Mama? You ready? Say bye-bye. Oh my goodness, she's getting big for 2 months. A little blessing. Little Eliora. Thanks for bringing her. I asked her to do that. I said, if she wakes up from her nap and she's feeling okay, bring her in. Yeah, that's the one we've been waiting for forever. My goodness, I think she was in the womb for 12 months, it seemed like. A little late. Yeah, those cheeks. That is some hard work. My wife, I'm telling you, I said, after witnessing my wife go through her second C-section, I was like, women deserve veteran status for the things they do with childbirth. The sacrifice they make, if you think about it, like, that's amazing. I mean, it's crazy how much they go through. And people just are like, all right, let's pick up and start feeding them within a few minutes. You know, like, the best way I could describe it is to think about like a slaughterhouse. Like if you had a cow and it's like in the slaughterhouse and they start slaughtering it and then they're like, oh, wait, no, you're a dairy cow. Here, you need to be producing milk on the assembly line here in about 30 minutes. You know, that's what it's like. But women are tough and they do it again and again and again. This is our 6th child. And so my wife has been through it. She's tough. When our Father made woman, he added that extra bit of DNA. You can still see it on their chromosomes to this day. When you do, genetics, you find out women have 2 X chromosomes. An X chromosome is larger than a Y because our Father added 2 when he made woman. And that's why their bodies can do things, produce milk after growing a child, produce milk that feeds the child, and not just regular, milk like you buy at the store, like different types of milk, the colostrum. And then it's got its certain density of antibodies and fats and things that are just perfect. Like there's this assembly line that's like, hey, what does a newborn need? We're going to make the perfect stuff. And then we're going to change and increase the calorie density and all these things. 3 different types of milk throughout their life, probably more, but science just now can detect 3. And they're finding out that women's bodies, I know this is totally different than the trumpets aspect, but still important to talk about his creation and the marvel at it, what he's done, because like their bodies can even produce milk and differently for a boy than a girl. Not random, not evolved. Yeah, cannot wait to share that stuff. I like talking about that stuff with our CreationStandard students. They talk about those things. They know these things. Like they are figuring this stuff out because they're fascinated with intelligent design. Science makes absolutely no sense when you're talked about as a random blob of cells stacked up. Yeah. All good. Yeah, she is a little perfect. And I'm going to try hard not to spoil this one. I'm going to try so hard. So hard. It's not easy. With girls, it's not easy. My brother had his daughter, his first child was a little girl. My first children were little boys. And I would give him the hardest time. I'm like, you cannot buy her everything she wants. You have to say no. Because we did that with the boys. Girl comes along and we're like, you want that? Here's 2 of whatever you want. Yeah, it's totally different. Go easy. Go easy on them people that have daughters. You don't know. Awesome. Yeah, if you're late, it's okay. You can still join us at Creation Standard. We have people joining now. Now that our looks like sun has set, the Sabbath is now over for the Trumpets experience. I got to get back to my emails. I had people emailing me saying they were ready to get started. So yeah, the sooner you start, the better. Though we're coming up on week number 5, I think. I have to double check. I think it's week number 5. We're still in week 4. And so, yeah, lots of fun to be had, lots of things to explore. Already learning new stuff. It's not reteaching stuff from last year. We are learning new stuff as well. It has been a blessing. The best of the best have joined us. And I mean, it's amazing. I felt like last year there's no way to top what we had just because we had the best of the best. Usually if somebody signs up for Creation Standard, they care about their children. They care about truth. And so you already know you're getting a special child and a special family because there's also adults involved, adult students as well. You already know it's special people. But having them all together, hearing their voices, hearing their thoughts, hearing how deep their understandings are. And I've been corrected by some of my students. That's how wise they are. They'll go, hey, this is the context of that. Like they know context. Like they're smart people. And they are brought up the right way. Our Father is raising up people who will be ready for that last trumpet. Having a strong foundation. Thank you, Matthew from Australia. We have a lot of students in Australia. We have like 5 families, four, maybe 5 families in Australia. Queensland seems to be the hot spot for truthers out there in Australia. Thanks for the support. Yeah, and if you guys want to support Creation Standard or my brother's Foundation Standard, he really needs some support too right now. I mean, we all do. I would like for this to be fully funded and supported so that we don't have to worry about charging or anything. We could just send out codes. But it's a lot of work and it's a blessing. But yeah, if you want to support, there's links to do so. My brother at Foundation Standard, if you go to our website, CreationStandard.com, he actually has, there's actually ways where you can support one of those, Foundation Standard or Creation Standard. I am not wealthy enough to be his boss yet. Yeah. So awesome. Yep. All righty. Well, you guys are the best. I'm trying to see if I see any questions in the chat from you guys. Kimmy says, congratulations. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my little girl stole the show. I'm glad she didn't come on earlier. I would have forgotten everything. She smiles a lot, though. I'm telling you, I've never seen someone smile so much when you talk to her. She just smiles at you, tries to talk. Living up to her name, Eliora. The Hebrew meaning of it. Name meanings are important. Somebody said, chat moderators, Josh. Anyone reading this, when you speak to a person that believes in a healer model, awesome. All right, trying to see if I missed anything throughout while I was talking. Looks like I didn't, I don't think. Thank you for our moderators being on here, helping out. I never censor hardly anything. So if your comments are being deleted and you think it's me and you're not saying anything bad, sometimes they are sent to directly to this a holding place, kind of like the Sheol. They're sent to, that's what it sounds like. They're sent to a holding place for review, held for review. That's what it's called. And sometimes I just don't see them. And it could be the nicest comments like, hey, praise Father, you're doing okay. And then it's just like held for review. I usually have it sent to just ban the bad words. But yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. A blessed name, Matthew, one of the disciples there. Oh, said your daughter just moved to Australia. Sadness. May have to follow after. Is this a temporary thing? I'm wondering. Temporary, long term? It's a good place to go visit. Use that as an excuse to visit. All right. Good to see you here. Yeah. I was all on my wife. I begged her, please bring her. Please bring her if you can. She must have remembered. Father put it on her mind. Oh yeah. You wanted to have her in here. Prison here, Australia. Is it really like prison there? there's a lot going on in this world, and it's scary. Places aren't the way they used to be. When I went there like pre-pandemic, and it was good. I don't know what it's like now, but it was good at that point. It was a good place with a lot of good people. Awesome. No kids. Total different lives. You probably don't look half my age. Yeah. Definitely, if I look sleep deprived, it's because I probably am. People are always concerned. Don't be concerned. This is normal. Yeah. That was just a test. That was it's I don't want to say it's going to get worse, but I have a feeling they don't do practice runs like that worldwide for no reason. They're preparing. They're preparing for a war. And there's the old Kingdom in Context. Good to see you, Sean. We're talking about remembering the first trumpet, the last trumpet. Can't really remember the last trumpet. A memorial of trumpets, remembering that first trumpet, seeing how it parallels the last one. People saying, hey, that trumpet happened and Most High came down to the mountain. Got tired of waiting on Moses for his second return to come back. Sounds like people today. Messiah came here, gave us instructions, and went back up, and now people are like, hey, we're going to make our own Messiah. He's going to claim to be God. Yeah, it was a happy trumpets day. It's much nicer when you actually know how to blow a shofar or a trumpet. For years, I would try and just blow veins in my head and just give up. And then last year on trumpets, I was like, I really would like to do that. Let me try again. Just a little prayer, and it worked. Now I can do it. The memorial of trumpets. Waiting for the last one. Well, you guys are the best. I look forward to fellowship when you guys, when I have a chance. I'm always looking for a reason. And I thought, what better reason than remembering our memorial of trumpets, talking about all the trumpets, the prophetic timeline we are on, precursors for the return now that everybody is saying the rapture was yesterday. I'm not making fun of anyone who believed it. People will come to you with evidence, but you have to look at everything in Scripture. I do believe spiritual things are happening in this world right now. Obviously, you can see that ramping up. So make sure you are ready for the things to come. Strong foundation to withstand the times to come. All righty. Well, both hands on the plow. Let's see if I can find that before I go. Both hands on the plow. Remember, don't look back, guys. Some of you, if you've been looking back, make absolute 100% sure you're keeping both hands on that plow. Looking forward, don't look back. Look forward to hopefully seeing you guys when that first resurrection does happen, that last trumpet. It's going to be loud. It's going to sound long, just like it did when our Father on that third millennial day came down to Mount Sinai. And hallelujah, we can learn from those lessons, those mistakes of his people, his stiff-necked people that he still went and provided free food for. He still went and made a way for them in that wilderness, allowed them to practice keeping his commandments and his ways. And so give thanks for this opportunity. I mean, us just being able to come on here and do this is a blessing, something that we may not be allowed to do much longer with the way they're changing technology and censoring things and filtering things. We may not be able to much longer, but we are blessed to have you guys joining us. Thank you so much for all your support, your prayers, especially with the spiritual warfare ramping up. We all need to stay on fire. No more room to be lukewarm. I know that would seem like the easy thing to do. Don't look back. Remember, one foot in front of the other. Keep plowing. We will see you guys next time. You guys are the best. We love you. Father loves you. Stay humble in spite of being royalty. You guys are the best. Have you been working overtime to protect your children from all the lies, indoctrination, and agendas, only to find out that the stuff is everywhere? If so, you're not alone. There are countless truth soldiers out there who are enduring the same battle you are, and there's something we can do. And we're not here to hand out blindfolds to everybody so we can protect all of our children. We are here to give them a strong foundation, one that is based on proving all things and using earth and life science as well as math and biblical history to prove that our Father's words are the truth. It's a scientific journey. You have 2 teachers joining with lots of experience. And this journey is one that will be live and interactive for multiple time zones around the world, where children are logging in to learn and explore our Father's intelligent design, as well as what this world actually is compared to what they say it is. It's a life-changing experience, and it will provide you and your children with a foundation that the lies cannot break apart. And if this sounds like something you're interested in, go to CreationStandard.com, check out our course information, and register today so that you don't miss out on this incredible journey as we replace the indoctrination with our Father's provable truth of creation at CreationStandard.com.